Hello and welcome to my personal top 10 for Game of the Year for 2020. The final Game of the Year video for our 2020 coverage. We'll have more coverage again for next year, for this year, I suppose now, at the end of this year. But we're going to run down my top 10 as well as two honorable mentions and just have a good time with it. I'm going to talk about games that I love. I'll cut in some footage from videos that I made on those games over the course of this last year. But starting off with our two honorable mentions, the first honorable mention is Part-Time UFO. This is a game that came out, I believe, on mobile a couple of years ago, but came to Switch this year, and I was first introduced to it. It is a very, very fun little crane game, almost, of stacking things, and I really love it. I think it's charming. I think it has a great soundtrack. I think it's very fun to play. Very rarely does a day go by that I don't think Hataraki UFO from this soundtrack. It is just permeated my soul, and I really, really enjoy it. The game also has an incredible ending. I think they did a really good job with it, honestly. Were this year different, I think that it probably would have been in my top 10, but I played a lot of games this year. I played 34, completed 34 games this year. Last year, I suppose now, for 2020, had a lot of time. And so there were a lot of games that I played, and I think Part-Time UFO definitely deserves to be mentioned, for sure. My other honorable mention is Bugsnax. Bugsnax is a game that caught me completely by surprise. That game came out of nowhere. The original trailer did not tell us what it was going to be, and then that game really surprised me. That game is very good. I definitely have my issues with it, as I've talked about in videos already, but I do think it's very, very good and definitely deserving of an honorable mention slot, because it's just crazy how much fun that game is to play. The creatures are fun to capture. There's some really interesting puzzles, and I really enjoyed the story. So Bugsnax, definitely honorable mention. Number 10 is Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Age of Calamity is the prequel to Breath of the Wild that I didn't know that I needed. And as someone who loves Breath of the Wild already, this game gave me exactly what I wanted. I got to see a look into the beginnings of when things go bad. Granted, things go a little bit different in this game. There's some changes made, but getting to see that initial problem and seeing how the characters tackle it, getting to see the moments where things fall apart, and then getting to play through it as you try to save it all, it's pretty good. I think the moments with Zelda are great. I think the moments with Tarako are incredible. The game plays really well. I do think by the end of the game, there's so much on the map that there's no way I'm ever going to 100% it. But I did still really enjoy this game. I think it was really fun completing it, for sure. And all the characters play very differently from each other. Even the characters that are of the same races that theoretically would have similar movesets have drastically different movesets. The music is great. Age of Calamity, just a top-tier game for sure. I really, really like it. Following up Age of Calamity is Nioh 2 at number 9. Nioh 2 is very special to me in a lot of ways. Nioh 2 is more of Nioh 1 but better, and Nioh 1 is already one of my favorite games of all time. Nioh 2 gives you even more options. It gives you even more flexibility to play around with the movement system. It adds, or the combat system. It adds in like an armory system that allows you to get more XP for new weapons based on the XP of other weapons that you already have, so you can catch up with new weapons, which gives you like so much freedom of build variety. You can basically do whatever you want. You can mix and match as much as you'd like, and the game rewards you for it. It's really, really interesting to me how they managed to tie all that in together. And I think that, you know, in a lesser game, maybe, to word it in that way, the systems on their own wouldn't have been enough to carry it. But in Nioh 2, you have a great story, you have really good music, you have really good combat, and so it all ties in together to make this really nice package with a solid story as well, and one of my favorite moments of the year. It just wound up being a really, really good game, and I think that it's one of those that I will come back to over time and just continue to put more time into. Nioh 2 is my number 9. Number 8 is Hades. This is a really interesting game. I am not huge on roguelikes. I've said that many times on the channel. I loved Dead Cells because I felt like Dead Cells really rewarded me for where I got in the game. It was a roguelike where I definitely felt like I was getting stronger very quickly based on my skill level. And Hades is that as well. You will get drastically stronger based on your skill level, how far you get, and also based on just the fact that the game unlocks more and more systems as you go. I do think by the end of the game, I was getting tired of the same run over and over again, but the story kept me going. I wanted to know what happened. I wanted to see how it ended. I wanted to try and bring all the narrative pieces together. And I do think the gameplay was very rewarding in the course of that. I think that the music is very, very good. I think the characters are very, very good. That is a great cast of characters. All told, Hades is just a really, really solid game. And as always, I'm very excited to see what Supergiant comes up with next. I do want to highlight real quick the fact that Hades has such a cool thing in that final boss fight. I don't necessarily like it, but I think thematically it's one of the coolest boss fights of the year. There's only one in this year that I think was thematically cool, and it's from Ghost of Tsushima. Number 7 is Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Much like Nioh 2 is just a flat upgrade to Nioh 1, and I really have no reason to go back to Nioh 1 now. I have no reason to go back to Blind Forest now. Will of the Wisp is the perfect sequel, in my opinion. It does everything that Blind Forest did, but better. It has better movement, it has better combat, it has better upgrades, it has better story, it has... better music is really tough for me because I really like the music in Blind Forest too, but like it has really great music, it has better world design. Everything about Ori has been upgraded into this really cohesive whole that if you asked me this year what was the best playing video game of this year, I would probably tell you Ori and the Blind Forest, even though it wasn't my favorite video game of the year. Because I think that, or Ori and the Will of the Wisp, I did it. Ori and the Will of the Wisp, because Ori and the Will of the Wisp is just such a solid game. It hits every point that you want it to hit, it does everything that you need it to do, and it does it all well. It executes perfectly on almost everything. It's such a solid game. Subjectively, there are games on this list that I liked more, but objectively, Ori and the Will of the Wisp is probably the best game on this list. Following up Ori, number 6 is Evans Remains. Evans Remains is a really special game to me. The game is the story. Like, the platforming is fun. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it. But that's not the main draw for me. The main draw is the story. And the story's really good. The story's just, like, incredible. It's divisive, right? Not everybody agrees with where the story goes. Not everybody likes it. But I think that not only is it okay to have a game that is extremely divisive like that, because of the story, but I think we need more of that. We need more games that are not afraid to make people go, oh, I don't know how I feel about that. So often you'll hear somebody in a video saying the game makes you ask this question of this or this. Evans Remains makes you ask yourself the question, do you like the way this went or not? Do you agree with this character or not? And I think that's really powerful. I think that's really special. I want more games like this, and I'm excited to see what they do next for sure. Because I really, really liked Evans Remains. Number 5 is The Pathless. The Pathless is very special as well to me. I am a person who loves stories in video games. That is something that I hope that by now you've been able to tell on this channel. I adore a good story. And The Pathless not only has a good story, it makes you piece it together. It doesn't give you the story. You don't get cutscenes that tell you what's going on. You have to piece the story together by talking to the souls of dead people so that you can figure out what's going on. And you don't have to do that. You could ignore them if you wanted to. But if you want to engage with the story, it's there for you to find. And so as you piece it together and get bits and pieces and put all of it together, you unravel this story that is really powerful to me. It's a really, really good story. not only that, you also have some really fun gameplay. The movement in this game is great. It's one of my favorite movement systems in video games now. And when I first saw it, I thought, well, that's going to be boring. But I really enjoy it. The way that you interact with the eagle is really good. The way that everything comes together, character-wise for those two characters is really, really solid. And at the end of the game, I was just really happy. I know that sounds like, well, you're supposed to be a professional. What are you doing talking about something that made you happy? The Pathless just made me really happy. It was just fun to explore an open world that didn't have, you know, hey, go over here and do this thing. Go over here and do this thing. There's no map. You find things on your own. You discover things on your own. You go where you want to go. And I think that's very rewarding. I like a game that lets me do as I want to do instead of going, but no, you should do this, though, in this exact order. Thanks. Let me explore. Let me see the world. And the Pathless lets you do that while having a really good story and some incredible music. So the Pathless is definitely my number 5. Number 4 is Final Fantasy VII Remake. I didn't believe this was real when I first started playing it. I've been waiting on this for so long. And I got through the first level, and it hit me. I'm actually playing this. This is not a tech demo. This is not a trailer. I'm playing this. And I definitely have my issues with it. I wish it was the entire game. I wish it was all of FF7. I wish I could play as specific characters now. But I do think this is a worthy remake. I think that what they have done in the redo of Final Fantasy VII is really good. I love the way the characters play. I love the new takes they have on some of the older characters. And yes, that is still my Barret. That is still my Tifa. That is still my Cloud from FF7. But by giving them that little bit more time, I do feel like we got a little bit more character development out of them. And I'm excited to see where it goes from here. I still think I like Original 7 more. But FF7 Remake is still really good. Stands on its own, in my opinion. Cannot wait to have that story complete. The remixes of the music in FF7 Remake, the Cosmo Canyon theme that you get to hear just a little bit of, the Tifa's theme, that Airbuster theme. FF7 Remake looks beautiful, plays beautiful, sounds beautiful. Still not quite as good as original FF7 in my opinion, but by the end of it, it could be. I just wish it was already done. Number 3 for me is Genshin Impact. This is another game that caught me by surprise. I was told it was going to be a gacha game, free to play on console, and I was like, I'll give it a shot. Why not? I play a lot of gacha games. This is probably my favorite gacha game. I think this is maybe the best gacha game because of the fact that you can earn materials for the gacha by playing the game without like a, oh yeah, but you can only get one for completing this mission. No, you just earn them by finding chests in the game, by doing specific tasks in the game, by doing daily commissions in the game. It's way more intuitive in my opinion of, hey, just play the game more and you can summon more. I do wish this game didn't have the gacha, to be honest with you. I wish that you unlocked all these characters by playing, but at the same time, while having the gacha, you also have an incredible open world that yet again goes, hey, go do your thing. Go explore. What do you want to do? These bosses are over here if you want to do them, but you don't have to. They're not tied to any like story progression or anything. You can do them if you want to, but you don't have to. And if you do story progression, you may unlock more, but like again, you don't have to. What do you want to do? And to me, that's what I love. I love that feeling of, where do I want to go? I want to explore, It's one of the reasons why Breath of the Wild means so much to me. And so many games nowadays instead go, well, we could let you explore, but we want you to do things in this very specific order. So we're going to block things off for you. Whereas in Genshin, you can go to a whole other zone and get told, hey, stuff's over here is really, really powerful. You shouldn't be here, but okay. There are limitations, of course, and I wish those limitations weren't there. But for the most part, you can go pretty much wherever you want. And the world it feels lived in. It feels real in that, like, I say this a lot. I care about shandification. I do. I care about it a lot. When you have a city in an RPG and 4 people live in that house and there's only one bed, I go, oh, because that means either everybody sleeps in that bed or the kids sleep on the floor, you know, and it bothers me. So when I get a game like Dragon Quest XI that has the appropriate number of beds for the people that are in the houses, or the appropriate number of chairs for the people that are in the houses, or I get a game like Genshin Impact that has restaurants that have actual chairs out front of it that you can go sit in because that's where you would eat. It just, the fact that you can, I know this is the meme on this channel now, the fact that you can sit wherever you want, but the fact that you can go to a restaurant and sit down outside the restaurant in this game, instead of having to go to an NPC and order some food, and then the game cutscenes you to a seat, and then events can happen. It's just, it's so much more shandified and diegetic, and I love it. I wish more games did this, because to me, it sucks me in. It makes my immersion go all the way up, and I can just play the game and feel like I'm in that crazy cool fantasy world. It's just really good. I don't know what else to say at this point. I feel like I've talked Genshin up so much that there's no way I could ever approach it from an objective standpoint. But I really, really like that game. I like it a whole lot. I do think the combat's really fun too. I think that just running around in that game and killing things is fun. It is very grindy, but I don't mind the grinding because, again, I like the combat. Number 2 is Yakuza Like a Dragon. And speaking of liking the combat, when you tell me you're going to make a RPG that's turn-based with a job system, I get excited. And I get excited because I have always loved turn-based RPGs with job systems. Final Fantasy Tactics is great. Final Fantasy V is great. You have so many other variations that have been done over the years. And job systems have been tweaked a lot over the years. I think the Bravely series is probably the most interesting one with that. Octopath Traveler is another big one. But I think the way that Like a Dragon does it is really solid. The permanent stat ups you get by leveling a job, the character skills that you can carry over, while not carrying over everything. So you're still incentivized to keep certain jobs for certain battles is really good. Oh man, I was about to get at my complaints, but I have more good things I want to say. The only negative I have to the job system is how hard it can be to get equipment early on. You unlock a lot of ways to get equipment later, but early on in the game, it can be really difficult to get the equipment that you want to get. That said, I do think the game rewards you for experimentation. I think the game rewards you for doing side missions. I think the game rewards you for doing different things to try and unlock more stuff. The game rewards you for playing Dragon Kart and the business management sim. Yakuza Like a Dragon is a game that no matter what you're doing, as long as you're doing it, you are getting stronger. And I think that is a really cool way to make that system. Either you're getting money that you can use to upgrade things, you're getting gear that you can use to get stronger, stat-wise, you're getting experience from finding things, you're getting new abilities, new summons. It's nuts how much work went into making this world tie in together mechanically. Even if I think plot-wise it doesn't always work, I think that what they have done with this game is really special. And that's not even touching on the story, right? The story is incredible. I think the story of this game and where it ends is really, really solid and definitely worth checking out. If you're somebody who loves RPGs, if you love job systems, if you love good stories, even if you haven't played the previous Yakuza games, you can jump into this one. And I think you absolutely should. Yakuza Like a Dragon is one of the best games I've ever played. I honestly believe that. I think it has its problems, for sure. The forced level hike towards the end is rough. It's been since like Dragon Quest II that I've had a game get that big of a spike. And even then, it's nowhere near Dragon Quest II levels. But still, just be aware. But I think that it all pays off in such a powerful way. And then finally, my number 1 is 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. This is a game that I honestly wish I could go into blind all over again. I wish I could wipe my memory of it and start it over again, because I already am jonesing to play this game again, but I know everything. I know all the secrets. I know all the mysteries. I pieced it all together. There's nothing new for me to glean, and I want that experience again, and I'll never be able to get it. So, I beg you, dear viewer, to play this game before you look up anything about it, because you can never get that blind playthrough back. I think this game is incredible. I think the music of 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim is really good. I think the characters of 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim are incredible. I think the story is so good. It starts off so small and it becomes so huge, and it's an incredible game that I really don't want to spoil for people. If you just have to hear my thoughts, you can hear my very spoilery, rambly review. But I think that 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim is not only the best game I played this year, it's one of the best games I've ever played. It immediately got spot into my top 25 of all time. I played a lot of games over the course of my life. I've been working in the games industry now as a paid job for over 4 years. And I've been playing games since I was 5 years old. So I've played a lot of games, but this one immediately took top 25 of all time. It is crazy how good this game is. I cannot in words explain to you how good it is without spoiling everything. So please play this game. 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim is my number one. I love that game so much. I have a few small things I would probably have changed about it, but for the most part, that game is incredible. And I'm really happy with it. I thought I would have more to say, but I don't want to spoil things, so I guess we'll just call it here. Let me know what your top 10 is in the comment section down below. And until next time, remember, I almost messed up the own outro. I have been Trey. It's been the Full Spectrum. Remember to always enjoy the full spectrum. And life to offer.